The Boy Who Made Everyone Laugh by Helen Rutter. Read to you by Mr. Wilson. Chapter 1. The past, the present, and the future walked into a bar. It was tense. Everything I say is important. Or at least, that's what my mom tells me. Sometimes she makes me repeat it out loud. It's embarrassing. Saying anything out loud can be embarrassing when you're me. That's what I'm doing right now. Practicing. Over and over, in the mirror. You'll find me here pretty often. It's where I do most of my chatting. Watching my eyes tighten to a close and my jaw tense up. My name is Billy Plimpton, and I have a stutter. My name is Billy Plimpton, and I have a stutter. My name is Billy, and I have a stutter. If I don't stammer when I'm saying it, I grow bright red, like I'm lying to my own reflection. If I do get stuck, then I still go red, because stuttering at yourself feels stupid. But my speech therapist once told me to practice, so I do. A lot. I only say this particular sentence on my own, in my bedroom, and never to real people. I wish I never had to explain that I've got something wrong with my speech. It helps when new people have already been told, so they aren't left trying to figure out what's going on with me. Some people take ages. It's hard to watch them trying to control their expressions. So much going on in their eyes, wondering if it's all a joke. I wish it was. That's the other thing I practice. Jokes. I love jokes. Using words differently, surprising people with a punchline, laughing at my own reflection. What did the llama say when he got kicked out of the zoo? Alpaca my bags. How can I be funny if I can't even speak? It's not easy to tell a joke when you can't get the words out. I ruin my own punchlines. It's very annoying. I spend hours watching comedians on YouTube. How smoothly they speak. How fast. The delighted audience. I try desperately to copy them. It's not always obvious that I have a stutter. Sometimes it sounds like a big pause. And other times, like I'm singing one word for a really long time for no reason whatsoever. Like I'm having a competition with myself to see how long I can draw one word out. This afternoon, I got stuck on the words lemon drizzle for what seemed like forever. We were talking about favorite cakes. The amount of time it took me to say it almost made me go off lemon drizzle cake a bit. Sometimes the words themselves annoy me when I get stuck badly, like they're doing it on purpose. My little sister Chloe's friend Aisha was over after school today. They galloped around the kitchen making clip-clop sounds. Chloe's obsessed with ponies. Her room makes me feel sick. There are so many stuffed toy ponies everywhere, and horse posters on the walls. I'm a bit scared of horses, but I would never tell her that, so I just don't go in there very often. Aisha hadn't been over to our house before. She stayed over for dinner, and as we were eating, I sang my way through a new joke. Which hand is better to write with? This caused Aisha to ask, "Why do you talk like that?" As blunt as that, looking right at me over her forkful of spaghetti. So Chloe explained, "He gets stuck on his words. He knows what he wants to say, but his brain won't let him come out right. You just have to wait until he's finished." Aisha thought about it for a while, then sucked on her spaghetti and said, "I like it." So that was nice. She also laughed at my punchline. Neither. It's best to write with the pen, which was even nicer. At least Aisha was honest and just asked me a question. Kids are a bit better than grown-ups when they first meet me. They either ask straight out about my stutter, like Aisha, or just completely ignore it. That's the best. When someone doesn't even seem to notice and waits till I'm done, knowing I'll probably get to the end eventually. My mom says a lot of the world's problems are caused by everyone being such a rush, and that I'm doing everyone a favor by forcing them to be more patient. It's only when kids know what's going on with me that the problems can start. They realize they can use it against me or laugh at me. Most of the time, I just catch kids making funny faces at each other or giggling behind their hands as I'm trying to say something. And then there is the frowny smiley face that adults have when I first speak to them. An upturned mouth and a wrinkled forehead. I hate it when people look at me like that. I want to make people smile completely, not in the frowny way. I can see the moment it clicks, when they get it, that what they are hearing is a speech impediment and not a choice. They almost look relieved, pleased with themselves. Then they get to show off how good they are at dealing with such a thing. In my experience, there are 4 main categories of grown-ups. Number 1, the encouragers. They have calm, smiley expressions and constantly say things like, "Go on," "Interesting," I understand. Encouragers are okay, although they can be annoying when they go too far and say things like, take a big breath in and relax. Telling someone to relax when they are clearly struggling is like shouting, run faster, at someone being chased by a tiger. They would if they could. Number 2, the mind readers. This is the most common category, and a very annoying one. In my opinion, a lot of adults do this to kids anyway, even kids without a stutter, but they really do it to me. There are adults who think they know exactly what I'm trying to say and helpfully finish my sentence for me. They usually say something completely wrong. Most of the time, I go along with their version of the conversation because I can't be bothered trying again. For example, an usher at the movie theater once thought I was going to ask, can you tell me where the restroom is? When I was actually trying to say, can you tell me where the popcorn is? She took me straight to the restroom, even though there is a huge sign and an arrow, and it was so awkward that I thought I should just go in, even though I had no need. I didn't even end up buying any popcorn. I told my mom I had changed my mind when I slid back into my seat, and she called me a strange fish. That's another thing that happens when you have a stutter. People think you're either slow or strange. Number 3, the jokers. The most upsetting category. The grown-ups who don't know what I do and decide to mimic me as a joke. Believe me, this happens more than you'd think. The other day I went to the shop and I had to ask an old man in a brown cap to get something off the top shelf for me. He responded by saying, yes, of course I can, and then laughed at how funny he thought he was. I'm not sure why any grown-up would do this. It's almost too confusing to be upsetting. I still felt bad though. Number 4, the waiters. The best category, and the only one you should try to be part of. Should you meet someone who stutters, these are rare people who don't mind waiting and will stay there for as long as it takes for me to spit out whatever piece of information I'm stuck on. Usually a new joke. You could be waiting a long time until I get to the end of a new one-liner. That's kind of how it works. The more I want to say something, the less my voice allows me to say it. It's like a sick joke in itself. Obviously, some waiters are not so good. You wouldn't believe how obvious it is when someone's waiting, but they don't really want to be. That's tough. I want to say to them, don't worry. Just go and do whatever it is that you'd rather be doing. This is no fun for either of us. But I don't, as that would take even longer than whatever it is I'm stuck on. Of course, the best way to control people's reactions to you is by spending as much time as you can talking to a mirror. It makes perfect sense. I turned back towards my mirror for another attempt at an introduction. My name is but before I can get any further, Mom pops her head around the door. Who are you talking to, Billy? She asks. No one, I say, pointing at my reflection. Gosh, if only that mirror could talk. It must have heard all sorts of things from you. Well, what's said to the mirror stays in the mirror, all right, I say in my best gangster voice. Mom's a pretty good waiter. I suppose she's had plenty of practice. Well, you and your mirror can keep chatting for 10 minutes, then it's bed, okay? It's a big day tomorrow. You need your sleep. She winks at me, and her head disappears from the doorway. If only I could be normal. Then starting Bannerdale would be easy. I'm going to try everything I can think of to get rid of this stammer and become just like everyone else. Maybe even better than everyone else. Imagine that. I could be the most popular boy in school. You know that Billy Plimpton? He's the best, and he's so funny. Yes, everyone wants to be friends with Billy Plimpton. I think he's going to be famous. Tell us another joke, Billy, go on. Everyone will crowd at me at lunchtime, desperately wanting to be my friend, eagerly listening to my jokes, if I can get rid of my stammer. I don't want to think what it will be like at Bannerdale if I can't. I've made a list of everything I'm going to try to say, like a non-stuttering 11-year-old. I love writing lists. I write them for everything. I have a really cool notebook in the shape of a rocket, which is the perfect shape. I pin my lists on the corkboard in my bedroom, ticking off things as I go, or adding new things when I think of them. It's jam-packed. I think I will need a new pin board soon. Maybe I should ask for one for my birthday. Here are some of my favorite lists. Top 10 jokes. This one's always changing. Number 1 at the moment is, why did the kid cross the playground? To get to the other slide. Things that make Chloe cry. This one sounds like a mean list, but it's not meant to be. Chloe just cries at the stupidest things. So one day when I was bored, I wrote a list. It makes me laugh so much reading it. Here are the current top 3. Number 1. Being blamed for a fart she didn't do. Number 2. Being told that unicorns aren't real. Number 3. When I touch one of her teddies with my bare foot. Here's my latest and most important list. Ways to get rid of my stammer. Number 1. Practice in the mirror. My speech therapist's top tip. I like Sue a lot, but it hasn't worked yet. My stammer started when I was 5. Mom thinks it was after I nearly drowned in the swimming pool. I'm not sure if I can actually remember being underwater, or if I've just imagined a memory. Like when you remember something from a photo rather than from real life, or when you've heard a story so many times, you think you were there when you weren't. My feet feeling for the bottom of the pool and not finding it. Panic. Legs kicking around me and the muffled sounds of people above. I'm still not a huge fan of swimming. Mom thinks I started stammering the next day. That's what she said to Sue. Apparently, my great-granddad had a stammer too. Sue said sometimes it does run in families. So that's what Mom always blames. A swimming pool and a great-granddad I never met. I'm not so sure about the drowning thing. I've seen video clips of me from way before that happened. Holding the rings for when Mom and Dad got married when I was 3, wearing a little waistcoat. There's one from when I was about 4, where I'm telling a knock-knock joke. Dad says I love jokes even before I understood them. In the film I say, knock knock, and you hear Dad from behind the camera saying, who's there? Then I say, poo poo, and start laughing like a total weirdo. I don't even know the answer when Dad asks poo who. I'm rolling around on the floor thinking the joke is finished, even though it makes no sense. Dad says that just saying the word poo used to send me into hysterics. That must have been really annoying for everyone. I'm glad I've grown up a bit. My jokes have definitely got better, even though I don't tell them to many people. I certainly wouldn't let Dad film me telling my jokes now. No way. I think I can already hear the stammer in the video. It just got worse when I was 5. Sue thinks that it may have gotten stronger when Chloe started speaking. Sue always says the word stronger instead of worse. I think it's so I don't see my stammer as a negative, even though it totally is. Strong sounds nicer than worse. When Chloe began chiming in, there was a lot more chance of me to be interrupted. That makes more sense than the drowning, if you ask me. I think Mom doesn't want to blame Chloe. It's easier to blame a swimming pool or some great-granddad. It went away for a long time when I was 6, but then it came back again. That's when I started seeing Sue. I've been talking to myself in the mirror for about 2 years, so you'd think if that was going to help, it would have by now. Maybe it is helping, and if I stopped having these lovely chats with myself, I would get even worse. I'm not going to risk finding out. Number 2. Read a book called Life Without Stammering by Sophie Bell. Mom took me to buy some stationery and books I need for school, and I secretly bought this while she was in the bathroom. I don't want Mom knowing how much I need to get rid of my stammer. She will just worry and want to talk it through, over and over. It was the only book on stammering that I could find in the whole shop. I tried to act relaxed when she came back, but my face went all tight and I bumped into a display on the way out. I knocked over a huge cardboard mouse and loads of books. Mom called me a clumsy creature, and we had to stack all the books back up. I'm going to start reading it tomorrow. Number 3. Drink an herbal tea that I read about on the internet called Matricaria recutita. Try saying that with a stammer. I have. It didn't go well. I read about the tea in a blog by a stammerer called John. He says it calms an overstimulated brain. Maybe that's what I have. I'll drink it every day for a month. First I have to find a shop that actually sells it. Number 4. Pray to the gods of speech that my speech therapist, Sue, will find a magic cure. This one's pretty unrealistic, since that's not what speech therapists do. They can't fix a stammer, but they can help make it a bit easier. They give you things to practice and ways to breathe, and they ask you about all the things that you find tricky, not just with speech, but with everything. Sue is really cheerful and kind. She has frizzy hair with gray bits near her head, and she always wears necklaces that look like big, colorful pieces of candy. We haven't made much progress on the stammer so far, even though I've been going for 2 years. Maybe, as well as praying, I should do my homework from Sue. Last time, she gave me a booklet to read, with loads of characters in it. They are meant to remind me how to talk in ways that can help my stammer. The smoothies, they are called. There's a different one for each different technique. Slover is like a worm, and is to remind you to go slow. Not a very imaginative name, I know. Big Softy, another genius name, is to tell you to try to create soft sounds. A soft sound is when you try not to say a strong consonant at the start of the word, a bit like you are too bored or tired to say it the right way. Try this. Say ball without the B sound, but so it still sounds like you were saying ball. Weird, isn't it? Slick slide bends into your words with a big at the start. So if you always get stuck on words that start with an S, you add an before it. Snake instead of snake. Sue says that no one even notices when you do this, but it feels really obvious to me. Why is snake better than snake? I just want to be able to say snake like everyone else. In the booklet, there are pictures of them all. Big Softy is like a huge snowball with a blue scarf around him. Slick Slide is meant to be a cool dude. Who says the word dude? Cringe. Sometimes I think adults who come up with these things just need a kid editor to check they're not saying something stupid, like cool dude. I think the smoothies are a little bit babyish, to be honest, but Sue loves them. I wonder if she will still be talking about them when I'm 12. I hope not. I don't want to be that old and still thinking about Slover and Big Softy. Tomorrow I have to somehow make it through my first day at Bannerdale. If only there was a way to avoid speaking. Maybe I can communicate entirely through mime, like Charlie Chaplin. I'm sure that would go down well with a bunch of angry teenagers, miming, "Please don't hurt me, I'm small and weak," as they crushed me into a locker. At least I'm starting from scratch at a whole new place. Maybe it'll be totally different and I'll make loads of friends, and no one will ever find out that I have a stammer. Or there will be even more kids there to laugh at me than there were in elementary school. At least in elementary, everyone kind of got used to me. My voice was normal to them, so I could forget about it, most of the time. Mrs. Jackson, my teacher, was okay too. She always called on the same people to answer questions, which I liked, because I wasn't one of them. And she didn't care when I was drumming with pencils on my knees, unlike Mr. Alsop the year before. He hated it. "Billy Plimpton, for the 10th time today, stop that noise." 5th grade was the best, because I was the oldest. Not the biggest, I'm tiny, but the oldest at least. None of the kids from the year before were there anymore, shoving me in the lunch line. It was great. Ash was my best friend from elementary. Kind of. I'm not sure that I was his best friend, but he was definitely mine. He came over every Thursday after school because my mom's friend with his mom, and his mom needed someone to watch over him while she worked late. So he sort of had no choice but to be my friend. But I don't think he minded too much. He used to practice his penalties at me at the yard. When I put Bannerdale down as my first choice on the application form, it felt great, even though everyone else in my class was going for Hillside. "Won't you miss Ash?" Mom said just before she clicked submit. "I will see Ash. You see his mom all the time." "I suppose so, honey. I just don't want you to feel alone, that's all." I didn't tell her that I always feel alone anyway, that Ash didn't really hang out with me much at school. No one did. He tried to be part of the cool gang at lunch. They all hung around the steps, talking about YouTubers, while I shot basketballs with 4th graders. On the last day of 5th grade, when everyone was signing each other's shirts, Ash said, "Now that we're going to different schools, it's probably best if we make new friends. And anyway, Mom says I'm old enough to stay home on Thursdays till she gets home, so I won't really see you anymore. Good luck at Bannerdale." "Oh, okay," I said. Do you want me to sign your—" But he'd already taken off, back to the cool gang. He was never mean to me, though. Not really. He never once laughed at my voice. The others sometimes did. When I was reading out loud in the class, or when I had to say, "Bah," in the holiday show at school. The director thought a sheep was perfect for me. She knew I loved jokes, and asked me to find some sheep jokes. It was a good idea, really. The sheep character always said, "Bah," to what everyone was saying, and it always made sense. Like Tiny Tim said something, and before Scrooge said humbug. I was supposed to say, "Bah." It wasn't meant to be a joke. But I could not even get B out, so it made no sense. All of the kids in class were giggling. I think even some of the moms and dads were laughing and covering their mouths. It was one of the worst days of school. I couldn't stop thinking about it for the whole of Christmas. People's face laughing and not looking at me, mean mouths and rolling eyes. But not Ash. I looked over at him through my sheet mask, and he just kept looking at me, waiting for me to finish my ba. That's why he was my best friend. That's also one of the reasons I have to go somewhere new, where no one remembers that holiday show, and all of the other times I got stuck. Maybe somewhere where I can find more people like Ash, who don't join in with the giggling. My biggest fear about Bannersdale is everyone laughing at me. I want them to laugh with me, at my jokes, not at me. But I can't even tell them any jokes until my stammer is gone. If I did, they would be laughing for the wrong reason. Just like in the Christmas play, I would be the punchline. They can't laugh at my voice if they don't hear it, though, can they? That's why I'm going to try my hardest to keep quiet, not say a word, until I've made my way through the list, until my stammer is gone. Then I won't be Billy Plimpton, the boy who stammers. I'll be Billy Plimpton, the funniest boy in school. Wish me luck. This was Chapter 1, The Boy Who Made Everyone Laugh, by Helen Rutter, read to you by Mr. Wilson. I hope you enjoyed it.